Welcome. My name's Maddy Harland from the Permaculture magazine YouTube channel. And today we're welcoming Liz Zorab, who's the author of Grounded and The Seasoned Gardener, published by Permanent Publications, which I also helped to co-found. Liz lives in Wales on a mountain by the farm. And there she grows flowers and vegetables and does all sorts of gardening experiences and runs courses and has a veggie box system as well, and probably does loads of other stuff that I don't even know about. And Liz also runs a really successful YouTube channel under her name, Liz Zorab. So welcome, Liz. I'm so happy to see you today. Brilliant.
Hello, Maddy. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, well, you're very welcome. So today, Liz, I really wanted to explore what it means to be a seasoned gardener, because we could both look at each other and say, well, you know, we're not getting any younger. Does that mean we're seasoned? But I think there's far more wisdom to it than just perhaps something to do with one's age.
Yes, absolutely. So when I was thinking about the title of the book, I wanted something that explained we were of a, I was of a certain age and that I had a certain amount of experience in growing, but also I wanted something to reflect that I grow year round and I grow with the rhythm of the year. And so what everyone else would call seasonally.
And I think the critical thing about that is your book begins in the autumn. So
Yes.
A lot of gardening books launch into gardening in the spring, which is a time where we have almost too much to do, sowing seeds and preparing beds, and, you know, it all just feels a little bit overwhelming. But your book starts in the autumn. So there's this opportunity to get ready and really become organized and more familiar with the growing space and the rhythms of growing before at the beginning of a year. And of course, this is very Celtic, actually, because the Celtic year begins at Samhain, which is the time for deciding when you want to, what seeds you want to plant. So it's not about planting seeds, it's about planning and dreaming into what you want to grow for the next year.
And that dreaming process, I think, is so underestimated. And I use late autumn and winter and very early spring to not just dream, but kind of really properly imagine how that's going to look. And every year, nature and the weather go, it's not really going to look like that, but it doesn't stop me holding that vision in my head, because that's what I'm working towards. And that would be my ideal. But I have this really long period of sort of almost 4 or 5 months where I can research and dream and plan and prepare both the garden and myself for when everything does start in spring.
So yes, so this period of dreaming, imagining, visualizing, planning, gathering your seeds, and just really having the time to prepare beds as well is this the autumnal tasks of the seasoned gardener, isn't it?
It is. It's autumn to some extent. The thinking bit is winter. There's other things I do during the winter as well, and then the early spring carries on with that process of preparation. But I do try and have some flexibility in that time because it's weather dependent, and I'm actually quite a fair weather gardener. So if it's nice during that down period, I will be out there doing something if I feel up to it. If it is rainy and it is bitterly cold or windy, doesn't matter how much the job needs doing, I'm not going outside. I'll wait until the weather is nicer. So I am very much at the beck and call of the weather, but I'm quite happy for it to be that way.
And of course, in the autumn, you're still cropping all sorts of food from the garden and in midwinter. So your gardening year doesn't begin in the spring and end at the end of summer. It's all year. But then you've got this other dimension where you've got all of your preserves and your frozen food and your dried food as well. So tell me a little bit about what you would be eating in winter from the garden.
From the garden, I will be putting root vegetables. So I will store parsnips, carrots, celeriac as long as I can in the ground. There'll be various different perennial kales and cabbages. There'll be, well, annual cabbages. I would say there'd be annual kales, but we don't eat them because I don't like them. So if one did like them, they would be there. And also lots and lots of herbs, which are evergreens, so we can go out and get those. And then from in our stores, there's the whole array of things that we've preserved, except for lettuces, because very leafy veg do not in my preserve terribly well. So I don't freeze or dry spinach or chard or any of those very leafy things, because I don't, it's a personal preference, but I don't like the texture of them.
Yeah. I mean, we grow a lot of kales, so we grow perennial kale, and then we grow annual kales as well, and different types, from Cavolo Nero to red Russian kale, which is incredibly sweet, quite extraordinary, and it loves the cold. It prefers.
So I grow red Russian kale as a salad leaf.
Do you?
Yes. So by the time it's got to about 6, maybe 7 inches high, I'm not interested in it anymore, and I'll sow a new batch.
Oh, interesting.
And I'll grow them as microgreens as well in the kitchen, because they taste great, but I'm not interested in once the leaves get bigger.
And do you grow a lot of microgreens in the winter as well? Or
not a lot, but I do grow some, because every now and then I just get that real hankering for something incredibly fresh that's got that sort of sweet, nutty sort of bite to it that actually you don't get from something that's been sitting in the garden for a long time.
So what do you grow in autumn and winter in the kitchen itself?
Oh, I will use. I've quite got into mung beans, which I never thought I would. I tried those an awful lot when I was younger, and I just didn't like them. And sometimes I just buy a bean mix and I'll grow those. And then failing that, I will have a packet of seeds, she says. There are always seeds around. This year, I'm going to be trying, new for me, a Chinese violet cress, which I'm going to grow as a microgreen. So it's supposed to be a beautiful in salads. When you go shopping, you get those awful plastic trays that, I don't know, either mushrooms come in or various different veg come in, but quite often they have already got holes in them. If they haven't got holes, I'll just put some holes in, and I'll use those. So I'm just trying to recycle the plastic containers that we've already got. And I'll use those, and then I save my seed trays for sowing seeds for outside.
Brilliant. So the season garden is just not just about what we do in different times of the year. And I know that we could have a whole conversation about spring and season gardening, autumn and winter this time. But also it's about the preservation of energy, isn't it?
Yes. So I very much work with daylight hours, and wherever I can, I wind down as it gets towards dusk. So in the winter, my winding down, putting on my pajamas and sitting on the sofa starts really in the middle of the afternoon. And it doesn't mean that I don't sleep for any longer, but I'm resting, and I'm consciously making that choice and that effort to rest. I've just been joined by my cat. He will appear in a minute, and he sits with me all winter. He'll say, "Oh, the fire's on, Mum's on the sofa," and I will read and I will learn, and I use that time for resting my body, but I will keep my brain going. And then when we get right into the depths of winter, I rest my brain and my body, and I tend to just watch fluff on the television or listen to gentle music and just let the thoughts waft through my brain.
And indeed, that's when you're doing your dreaming.
Yes, completely.
Because you're just relaxing and allowing yourself to dream, imagine and visualize.
Yes, and to just be, and when I gave myself permission to do that, to just kind of be in that, it's sort of be in the moment, but actually I'm being in the moment outside because I'm letting myself think about other things. The possibilities and the potential which sort of starts going around my head, those are the times I have those aha moments, those I could do that. And I don't always remember them, so I haven't got yet very good yet at having a pen and paper around to write those things down when I have an aha moment. So I just have to hope that I remember them at a later date. But those are sometimes when I just think, oh yeah, that would work, or I wonder if that would work. And in my head, yeah, it's going to work. It doesn't always in practice, but they're nice things. It's nice to be able to have the time to think about things rather than in the busiest time of the year when you're going, how am I going to do this? And you're feeling pressured, you don't necessarily come to the best ideas. Whereas if you can think about things gently and slowly, you might actually find better answers. I might find better answers.
And also that you have a rhythm which is on a daily basis to do with the early morning and that golden hour as well. It's actually quite significant in this gentle, seasoned way of working with your own inner energies. So you do it in a seasonal way in midwinter by stopping and dreaming and visualizing, planning, but you also have a daily rhythm that listens to the needs of your body as well.
I do, and I guess I'm what people call a morning person. I'm one of those people who gets out of bed and is really unpleasantly cheery because I've had enough sleep and I feel rested. So I kind of like, good morning, and everyone around me kind of goes, yeah, okay. And so I have my greatest energy levels, not long after I wake up. So I try and do is do my morning ablutions and head outside. And I might not actually be doing anything outside physical. I haven't gone out with a plan to do something, but I do try and go outside and spend some time in the garden, spend some time surrounded by nature and surrounded by just everything, the weather, everything, the sounds, everything that's going on, and just enjoy those, just let them wash over me, let me breathe in the smells and to notice things. So that's the time of day I tend to do a lot of observation, a lot of intentional observation, as well as that joyous thing of you come across something you weren't expecting to see or you haven't noticed before, and you kind of go in and go, I've just watched a mole come out of a molehill, or a bird of prey has flown really close by, and they're things that you can't plan for, and they're just a joyful privilege to be a witness to and a part of.
And of course, all of this arose, this sort of understanding of the rhythms of your body and the rhythms of the year arose out of having no choice whatsoever to look at your health and work on your well-being and do whatever you could to get well. Yes.
So in 2015, I realised I wasn't very well, and I talk about this in Grounded.
Oh, you do.
And I realised I was poorly enough that I had to actually stop and I had to listen to what my body was saying. And if I was going to get better and continue to stay well, then I would need to carry on listening to the inner rhythm, the way my body is coping with life and the food that I put into it and the stresses that are going on around it. So part and parcel of all of that is actually saying I do best when I'm connecting with nature. I do best when I'm having fresh air and I'm having better food than the things that I actually really like to eat, which are all mass-produced rubbish. And I've had to just go, actually, my body doesn't like me eating those things, and to accept that and to learn to make my own mass-produced rubbish out of my own ingredients. And actually, that's been really
But I'd
good fun.
reframe that, because it's not rubbish, is it? It's much more wholesome and nutritious and
Absolutely,
fresh, and
yes,
it hasn't got colouring in it and preservatives. It's
yes.
just yummy food, if not a
Absolutely.
little
So
bit
it's
more.
my own version of all of those things that we go, should we go and get a X, Y, or Z? And now we do that, but it comes out of the freezer or I cook it fresh. So yeah, I had to learn to listen, and I had to respect that my body wasn't going to deal with the modern style that I was living, and that I needed to slow down and be more in touch with my surroundings, more in touch with my feelings and my reactions. And if I do all of those things, I'm actually pretty healthy.
Good. And you do tell that story of recovery and grounded, but in The Seasoned Gardener, it's almost like you've taken another step forward, and you're not necessarily telling the story of recovery and recovery of health. You're presenting this sort of yearly rhythm of gardening in by preserving energy, working with the seasons, working with the time of day, and doing things in the most efficient. But when I say efficient, it's sort of energy efficient, but it's also heartfelt and wholesome. It's
Yes,
not just about sort of it's not an industrial way of doing things that minimizes inputs. It's about actually enjoying the processes and creating as many of the inputs and the resources as you can on the site.
absolutely. And The Seasoned Gardener really it's a story of a gardening year.
Yes.
It is a story. It takes you from from September through to August,
Yeah.
and I look at all sorts of things, not only what's growing and what I'm harvesting, but my relationship with my surroundings, and almost my quite physical relationship, and in where am I looking, how am I holding my body, what does it smell like, what are the colours and the sounds that are surrounding me, with an invitation to encourage the reader to think about those things as well for themselves, and how does that interpret in their garden.
Yes. So thank you very much, everyone, for listening to this conversation. And if you've enjoyed it, please do like our channel, and we'd love it if you subscribed as well. So that's enough for today, but thanks very much, Liz, for being here.